Micah, why didn't I get to work on the MR2 today?
My car broke.
I don't know if it can be seen back there. What are you laughing about? What'd you do, Micah?
A series of things. So the car hasn't been wanting to start in the winter, and this morning I was trying to leave my girlfriend's house and the car started smoking and sputtering and just didn't want to start. So we left, came back with a trailer and tried a number of things, but no luck.
It's fixed. I ended up replacing the starter and the main power wire to the starter. The noise he was talking about, it blew out the turbo gasket between the exhaust manifold and the turbo. So I'm not sure that I really care about that right now. All right, welcome back to Family Man Racing. Today is day before Thanksgiving. This video will probably come out well after that, but goal today is to keep working on the MR2, which we're making room for a 4G63 and automatic transmission. What I noticed was with the stock fuel tank and filler neck, it was going to be in the way of the turbo kit. So I started on that, removed the fill neck and removed the heater hoses. And so next is to crawl underneath the car and get everything out of the way so I can drop the fuel tank. And then we're going to modify that heater line, cut it back a little bit, and then going to modify these heater hoses that, I don't know what, radiator line, radiator, heater. We're going to cut these back because they actually have to kind of loop around the motor this way, coming back. And right now they're pointed towards the turbo. So that's that. If you didn't see on the last video, did complete the notch for the transmission. So I notched it 1.5 inches on the frame, boxed it all back in, and probably gonna move it over from mock-up about 3/4 inch. So be a little bit of space in there, and then it'll free up room on this side for the motor mount and accessory lines. So I'm gonna keep knocking this all out. The goal for this Thanksgiving weekend is get the motor in and mounts made. So 4 solid mounts, get that done, and then can start working on everything else. Eventually, I need to power wash all of this, clean this up good, and going to paint it all this undercoating, which turns out kind of like a flat gray, but I think it'll look good against what car is currently, somebody started polishing it or wet sanding it. It's currently a gloss black, may get wrapped white at some point. Either way, I think it's going to look good against some of the black engine parts, and then EVO 3 intake manifold. So it'll pop a little bit against a kind of flat gray engine bay and still be easy to clean and take care of. This was an experiment with white. It certainly brightens the engine bay, but there's no way I'm keeping that clean. So yep, gonna keep cleaning this out, drop that, build motor mounts, and then start tackling some other things. What a mess. So that's out. A little bit heavier than the fuel cell, and parts everywhere. And now there is a nice big hole to work with here. Let me zoom out. So what's cool is it looks like, oh, there we go. I could put a trans cooler right there. So I put a trans cooler there. It frees up that for an intake for the turbo, cold air intake. Otherwise I was gonna do transcooler there, which is why this actually came with the car, but you just bolt a transcooler and fan there. So this will actually work pretty well. All right, I think we have something. So more space here. Estimating axle length appears to be even. Tucked up in there. And then not a ton of room, but some room. And that might be in the way for AC compressor, but it also may fit too. So not worried about that right now. That's just the coolant overflow. I can move that. So I think now is to build a mount on this side, keep it a little stable here, because I have it leveled this way, and axle is basically centered in where once this, it's fully extended now. So once this comes up a couple inches, let's see if we can see. All right, so there, down in line here. Tight fit though. That does not touch, but it's close. So maybe need to do some strategic grinding when I'm done. Now I gotta start cutting and grinding and welding. But pretty happy. It's crazy how low these sit. There is a ton of room. There will be. I mean, obviously this is just the block, but the head and I mean, everything's gonna be pretty low. So it's wild. Will not be fun to work on in the car. One mount done. It ain't pretty, but it's done. So I'm gonna let this cool down and then I will mount it right there. Okay, I lied. I couldn't help myself and had to spray it with my favorite Grip It paint. It's still wet, but again, couldn't help myself. Yes, it fits. One down, 3 to go. All right, it's sitting there on its own. Hard to see this one, but it's 1/4 inch thick angle iron that I trimmed to fit, and it's braced on the back side, so it can't go this way. And then it actually adds quite a bit of support this way. Still need to do, there's a lot of debate with my friends. Suggestion is both a rear and front roll stop. I kind of only want to do one of them. This one doesn't add much for support on the twisting. This one does, and then obviously one or both of those. I did put a jack underneath here and jack this up, and before the engine moved even 1/4 of an inch, started lifting the whole car up. It appears that it's pretty stable already, and then we'll add some more. Now I can put a head on and start seeing how everything else fits. So I am happy. The hoist is there, engine's there. All right, I forgot to film, but there's a rear roll stop all fabbed up. And I was wrong earlier. The engine did move because I still had it blocked on the front. So when I jacked up from the trans side, when I took the block out of the front, it did twist, which makes sense because that twists a lot there. That's not designed to have any of that. Over here, it holds it okay, but it can twist in this part here. And oh yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my wrist, but I'm still working on the car. I just stabilizing it. So now that when I put a jack under here, it instantly lifted the car. So should be good to go. I'm gonna skip the front one that goes there because the rear supports more anyway. And thinking about putting the water to air intercooler core right here. And so the turbo would go piping into here and then out into the intake. I'm not sure if it'll fit or not. I'll have to move it way over here. But this wiring right here is gonna go. It doesn't go to anything important anymore. We've got a lot of work to do. I think the next step is going to be working on putting the coilovers and suspension in so that I can start measuring for axle length and start playing with axles. So I do need to order axles yet. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to end up cutting axles and sleeving them. So I'm gonna, because I just think all the options are way too long. So that stinks, but is what it is. I can get custom axle bars made later, but this should work to get it rolling. So that's probably the next step. I also do want to make room for wiring, shifter, trans cable shifter, and measure for that because I'll have to order special length for that. And yeah, my engine's at my buddy Donnie's. He's working on doing a long block for me, and so I can keep mocking up stuff in here. So a lot of work to do, but huge milestone. Thanks for following along.